All right. This is the WMB show, and I'm your host, Isaiah Israel, and welcome. We're going to be concentrating tonight on something that I found on Facebook that really got me to thinking about what I normally put on here in order to discuss, and that's about personality and character and integrity, and the whole nine about virtues versus the seven deadly sins, right? So I really found it apt that this particular article dealt with narcissism versus an empathic person. And I got into it a little bit with a personal friend of mine on Facebook, and he found it to be rather kind of um, good to be a narcissist. But I was saying, why would you want to even acclaim that kind of a negative aspect to your own personality? Because in reality, a narcissistic person is a very negative person, is a user, is an abuser, is an exploited person, is a truly negative person that borders on sociopathy and being a psychopath. That's what it leads to at the extreme. But with all of that being said, I really found the article um, interesting on several points. And before I get to that, I just want to focus in on what we were trying to talk about last night in regard to, white dust and the whole nine. But I did leave out a particular New York Times article that dealt with that. So I just want to kind of go over that a little bit and let you guys see that particular article and how important it is to what I was saying last night in terms of white flight. So this is the New York Times article talking about the number of deaths versus births among white people and how they are now claiming that it's a bad deal to have an abortion. And that's really a takeoff on their own abortions versus black deaths or abortions. And black people are not killing their babies like that. In terms of over the last 30 years, 14 million. That I found that not to be true. But I digress. But in this particular article, you can see on the New York Times they talk about fewer births than deaths among whites in majority of U.S. states. It's a very interesting article. So you can Google that and find. I'm not going to read it here, but it's just a related article that I had left out from last night. All right. So again, to talk about narcissism is what I really want to concentrate on tonight. And from all of my other videos, I concentrate on the positive, man, because there's a lot of people who are suffering not only from their own torment and what they say to themselves that manifest in their life, but from their own upbringing, their own family, their own friends, or whoever else, constantly telling them they cannot do it, you will never make it, or you ain't shit, or you never amount to anything, whatever the case may be. But through it all, there are a lot of people who have become successful and didn't pay that any mind. And I salute those kinds of people who do that and overcome all of those odds. You know what I mean? So what I want to do right now is to go over in detail this particular article written by Leon Seltzer, a PhD in psychology, and the article deals with the title is "Are We All Narcissists? 14 Criteria to Explore." So I hope I don't get a copyright strike. I don't think so, um, but we'll see. Let me bring that up and we'll go over it in detail. Now, as you can see, this is the article by Seltzer, PhD. Are we all narcissists? 14 criteria to explore. So we're gonna go through this, and I'm gonna, read it because I really find it apropos to do so. It says it's almost impossible not to embody at least a single narcissistic trait. Here's why. When we're young children, we're acutely vulnerable. We're not yet equipped to take care of ourselves, so we're utterly dependent on our caretaker for sustenance. Now, that's true. You are just totally dependent on your food, your clothing, and everything, your own upbringing, your faith, and what you believe. And please excuse that, some people just shouting out here in front of the house. But as you know, I'm doing this broadcast from my home, from the kitchen table. So every now and then you're going to hear people talking. Hopefully not that much, and some cars going by. So please excuse that. So let me move forward here. And it says, and yet they often criticize us. True, they may only be endeavoring to teach us appropriate behaviors and boundaries, in a sense to civilize us. But over time, such negative evaluation take their toll. They typically do damage to our core sense of self and make us question whether there's something wrong with us, whether in short we're good enough. Doubting ourselves and not sure whether we actually deserve to be loved and cared about, we try to adapt to our insecurely felt environment as best as we can. To earn our parents' and others' positive regard, which regrettably we perceive as conditional. Early in our lives, we lack the cognitive maturity to self-validate, to convince ourselves of our intrinsic human value, independent of how the outside world seems to view us. So we're destined at times, doomed to rely on others to confirm our worth. Sadly, we give them more authority to evaluate us than we do ourselves. Reacting so personally to others' judgments, despite them generally being based on their unresolved issues, and that's very important, on their unresolved issues, particular preferences, or unrealistic standards. We naturally get into the habit of looking for ways to make up for our supposed defects. Although it's largely unconscious, we strive to compensate for these assumed weaknesses and shortcomings by doing things and thinking things to quell the anxiety experienced when we sense we're not meeting the approval criteria that presumably others have set for us. Now, let me stop here because, a lot of kids grow up in a very dysfunctional home. You might have an alcoholic mother, father, drug addicted mother, father, abusive people. And a lot of those things are reaped upon the minds and hearts and souls of young people. And, it's like taking a child and constantly telling them they're dumb, they'll never be about anything, they'll never understand. Eventually, that spell takes hold and takes root. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy on that person's part to overcome that spell, to convince themselves that, hey, I can do it. I am smart enough. I am, whatever the case may be. And that I can become successful to whatever degree that may be. And so, what a lot of what is being said here in this particular article weighs heavily on the environment in which that child is raised. If that child is raised in a very loving home, that child will learn to love. But if that child is raised in a hate-filled home, that child is going to learn to be anxious and hateful, distrustful, and all of the things that come with that kind of a baggage, that kind of environment. So let me continue. By way of qualification, I should add that there's a genetic component to all of this. So it's not entirely our environment that fosters such negatively distorted survival programming. Moreover, Just as some children are more sensitive to parental criticism than others, some parents are simply better at making their children feel accepted, regardless of the child's often errant behaviors. Now, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to also kind of, comment on this because this is crucial. There is not one child that comes into this world that knows everything when they come in. Every child like a blank sheet of paper, and the kind of friends that they have, that they grow up with, and the kind of environment that they have, whether it's a rich environment, as far as being wealthy, or poor environment, as far as being economically disadvantaged. You find a lot of kids, and this is one of the things I talk about too, that rock bottom has created more champions than coming from a family of privilege. And we have, parents that's not really parents. They just coming from all kind of angles, and they can be drug addict, and giving the kids a lot of money but not being there. All of these things are factors. And the more I had read this article, the more I saw that there's a lot of intricate details that need to be focused on when you're raising kids. And when you are an adult or you become an adult, you must, on a habitual and ritual level, cleanse out all negative things that happen to you, or you thought about when you were a kid that just doesn't fit anymore. You know what I mean? You have to go through your mind and dig out all of these negative conceptions that you may have, right? So let me continue. Even beyond these divergencies, if parents routinely give the child the message that they are golden and so entitled to get whatever they want, that overblown favorable message can be as powerful in fostering a maladaptive narcissistic kid as having parents who harshly scrutinize or scapegoat the child. Now that's true. In markedly disparate ways, both types of parents hinder the child from developing a strong, resilient ego. Rather, these extreme messages are likely to lead the child, once an adult, to possess a fragile ego, easily provoked by external criticism or blame. And I should also add that it's essential to distinguish between what's commonly called healthy narcissism and unhealthy or malignant narcissism. As one writer puts it, rightly emphasizing that narcissism must be understood as existing on a continuum, the former personality operates from a place of goodwill towards another person, while the latter operates from a place of ill will. And there's like links that you can click, and it says from healthy and versus unhealthy narcissism, no author or date given. That's a pretty good thing. You can click here and read that as well. And it goes on to say Shannon Thomas in a piece entitled "Are We All Narcissists?" Portrays how all of us, though not warranting the denigrating label, nonetheless can exhibit reprehensible narcissistic traits. Within any given moment, do we all have the ability to be completely self-serving, manipulative, snarky to a stranger, snap at our kids, slam doors in the middle of an adult temper tantrum, seek our own self-preservation at the expense of someone else, and so on? Sure we do. No one would argue that people can be real dirtbags or assholes at times. However, once the moment of our toddler-esque meltdown is over, we feel bad. We realize what a jerk we were and are embarrassed that we took our inner annoyance out on another person. We apologize by saying sorry, doing something nice for the other person, or inwardly repent for being hostile towards a stranger. We come back to our baseline of being a normally decent human being. Narcissists cannot do that. They cannot, will not, don't desire to be self-reflective and always blame others. finally, Jeffrey Kluger and his Narcissist and All of Us makes a further distinction, this one between pathological narcissists and what he called tribal narcissists, which he laments is universal, focusing first on the more individual narcissist. He also uses the vernacular to colorfully describe them. They are the preener, the mirror gazer, the blowhard, the braggart, the colleagues or family members who go on about themselves, but whose eyes take on a sleepy glaze the moment you find a crack of conversation or daylight and try to talk about yourself. They're the reality show exhibitionists, the NFL end zone dancers. They're the bosses who bully you, the friends who exhaust you, the lovers who charm the pants off you, sometimes literally, then never call again. Kluger takes next takes, or excuse me, Kluger next takes pains to contrast this characterological malignancy with the disappointing normal narcissism of a tribe, which he views as a global affliction, observing human beings are social creatures, but being social implies bands, and bands imply favoring your own above all others and needing to feel good about ourselves. We tell ourselves that we favor our own kind because we're smarter, prettier, better, more virtuous, more caring, and superior breed of people in a world filled with lesser ones. Now, I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to get down to the more important part, and it talks about some of the red flags that a person that is a true narcissist exhibits. And it goes on to say grandiosity. Might you be overconfident or cocky? Do you tend to magnify your achievement or so, that people will see you as special? Hasten to call attention to your various talents and accomplishments? Do you have a habit of showing off or been told by others that you do? Are you prone to bragging, making sure that others won't doubt your self-alleged importance or superiority? And then it goes on to talk about fantasies of greatness, arrogance, sense of entitlement, manipulation and exploitation. That's a big one. And it goes on to say, deep down, do you view others as objects to be used to show up your self-esteem? Do you focus on how you can profit from your relationship with them? And on and on. It's just really, really deep, and I really appreciate this article. And it talks about status seeking and envy and selfishness, self-absorption, lack of empathy, and that's a powerful one too. Because you cannot relate to somebody else's pains and feelings. I don't know. Need for flattery and adulation, sensitivity to criticism, and wide-ranging defensiveness in reaction to it. Anger problem, boundary issue, and on and on and on. So it's a really good article. So if you get a chance to Google it, uh, once again, it's the article by Leon Seltzer, PhD, and the title is "Are We All Narcissists? 14 Criteria to Explore." Now, after reading this and talking about it on Facebook, I took liberty to really spend my thoughts on it and give my analysis of what it's all about, right? So we're going to go on ahead and we're going to look at what I wrote. And one of the things that you have to do too, I don't know if it might show it clearly here. There's a chart, the narcissistic versus empathic chart. And hold on, let me get rid of that. And we'll go to this one. Now, when you put in Google, you have to go to images in order to see this. And, it's kind of blurry, but, I can kind of make it out. But it's really good because it's like the yin yang kind of thing going on. You know what I mean? And you got a little bit of narcissistic traits and empathic people, and a little bit of empathic traits and narcissistic people, right? So I really like this, up and down heart kind of thing. Where's your heart? Where's your soul? And a lot of people who are bent toward narcissism, like Trump. They border on, well, they are sociopath and psychopath because they cannot relate to people at all. They can only use and abuse and, the whole nine. So I would advise that people, get this and see it and really take a look at it and examine it, each and every word about what a narcissist is and what they do versus what an empathic person does, right? So we're going to move on, and I'm going to read to you what I wrote and dealing with this. Hold on for a second. Now, in response to this, I put up what my buddy at Facebook was saying. He said, if you love yourself to the highest level and have a self-esteem to the highest level, then you're a narcissistic person. Now, I'm not knocking that you shouldn't love yourself or shouldn't see yourself in such a high esteem, but not at the cost of somebody else's personality and character and their humanity. That is a true narcissistic person because that person only cares about him or herself and doesn't give a damn about what somebody else is doing or feeling or saying. It's all about them. That's not a true good person to me. So I went on and I said, I found this statement and this article very interesting, guys, but I believe it lacks a fuller understanding from my point of view. So here is where I'll venture to give my fuller understanding of it. The article talks about how each of us as children are heavily influenced by our environment, rich and or poor, and our familial relationships and communal participation affects and effects our spiritual, mental, emotional, and ultimately physical well-being as children that oftentimes than not can wreak havoc in our adult years as we traverse through our journey as either dysfunctional or functional adults in terms of our ability to cope with others who have mental issues as purported in this article. I found the article lacking because it only deals with the negative side of the equation without adding into and examining the opposite of what a narcissistic person is, and that's empathic. Although I agree in the latter writing of this article as to what a narc or narcissistic person is, it is very important to view the opposite of that as well, and that is being an empathic person and all of its positive attributes that I feel resonates with people better and definitely more profoundly so, more so than a narc will. In my analysis, you guys, being a positive person is a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly endeavor that we all must do to be as good of a person as one can be. And that is 99.999% perfect. You can never be 100% because you know what? There's always room to improve and anything. But to me, our goal must be a holy being, HOLY, by constantly becoming aware of ourselves as we incorporate the virtues of life in our own lives while sidestepping the seven deadly sins of greed, gluttony, sloth, envy, pride, wrath, and lust. That if we allow them to take root in our lives, our daily lives, then they can wreak havoc in every aspect of our being and social endeavor. So to me, to become holy, HOLY, being, we must become a holy, WHOLLY, being, meaning that we are becoming more and more conscious of our true spiritual selves as finite beings and the fact of our legacy after death lives on in others, and that legacy must be one of hope as a light for others to follow. Having faith means that one understands the intrinsic value it contains to make one's will so indomitable that there's no room for doubt to spring forth and cause one to give up on their dreams. And those values are believing and knowing, which are the crucial elements of one's faith. I believe that I can ride a bike because I know how, but someone had to place the seed of faith, the seed of belief in me first to do it, and from there, my knowing came from the practical experience of falling off the bike until I found my balance. This is what life affords us. Each and every one of us must have faith. Faith doesn't make it easy, it just makes it possible. And when we see with our third eye that all things are possible, the door to fame and fortune opens, for we now have the peace of mind of knowing that we can do a given task without the devil of doubt clouding our judgment and defeating us before we even start. To be honest, this comes from doing what we love to do. For happiness means doing the thing or things that give your life meaning, purpose, sense of direction, and fulfillment. And when you have found your happiness and have developed a faith that is rock solid and based in being an empathic person, you become an enigma of sort because people aren't on your level of understanding and may find you to be a godly man or woman and they want the same thing. Not knowing the trials and tribulations you had to go through to get to the level of understanding of self that give you all this power of faith that breaks past failures to successes. It says, please take a look at the meme displaying the opposite of being an arc. And that's the one that I just showed, which is more powerful and more positive, and again, one can have from being empathic. Through a daily ritual of mental and spiritual cleansing, one must do to weed out the negatives of being a narc. The blessing of being an empath are far better than a narc. Any day and in always, ALLWAYS. Be aware of your surroundings to make sure you're not surrounded by grade A assholes with a lot of issues that they are not addressing in their lives that will inadvertently drag you down to their level for misery loves company. This by no means to be a fool. Strap on the shield of God, the shield of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to protect you from the energy vampires of negativity and eliminate them from your life. And that means close relatives and friends and surround yourself with people on the same level as yourself. Or better, that'll inspire you to keep it moving because if you don't, you can invariably waste years, maybe even decades of time that would have been avoided. People have knowledge of wearing a seatbelt. Wisdom says put it on. And the understanding is that it can save your life. That's the power of those three elements. Use them wisely and bless yourself on a daily basis and practice the greatest religion of all, kindness. And then it goes on, and I go on to say, to conclude, the overall gist of life before it is over is to just do four things with all your heart, soul, and mind, and that is to live, love, laugh, and learn, and to be a giver more so than a taker. Takers may eat better, but givers sleep better at night, knowing that they have not harmed anyone and have actually helped someone along the way, and road of their lives by and the road of their lives by planting seeds of hope into the fertile ground of their own promised land. And to me, the promised land for all is to enter, exist, and let me, what am I trying to say here? And to me, the promised land for all is to enter, exist, and it's located right between your ears. The more we water that 3 pound mass of gelatin we call a brain, the more we get from it. So strive to be a holy being by living and becoming a holy, WHOLLY being. by living the virtues of life: respect, responsibility, frugality, resoluteness, admiration, devotion, commitment, character, and integrity, and above all, being kind. Now, I found it to be wow, really hitting on what this show is all about, being an empathic person, and it's a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly grind to really, uh, get into yourself, dig deep to extricate all of the negatives that perhaps you said to yourself or others said to you or tried to drag you down and keep you from going to where you got to go. And this is the whole point of the show, the WMB of Lies and Deceit, or the WMB show, to allow people to see the greater sense of self that you can and you must and you will be successful, whatever that may be, whatever success is defined by your parameters, not by others, and that it is not based on somebody else's time. A person can start out today and a year's time they're making $12 million a year. Don't judge yourself by somebody else's timetable. Your success will be your success when it comes. And we all got to go through the fire of salvation to get to the other end of what we call success. There's a price you pay. You have to go to school, you have to invest your money, you have to learn the laws of money, all of these things. You have to multiply your effort through other people to get to where you want to be a lot quicker. And, a whole lot of other parameters and things that are involved. So I encourage people to really, really, really get in touch with yourself, to know who you are and what your values are, and never sacrifice yourself, never sell your soul to the devil for any amount of money. Your integrity is far uh, worth more than any amount of money that you can that can be offered to you. And to me, as I have said so many times on this show, that happiness means doing the thing or things in your life that give you meaning, purpose, sense of direction, and fulfillment. And when you have that, there's no doubt that you can open the door to fame and fortune. That is the precious key that lead to fame and fortune. Period. And I feel good about doing this show. You know what I mean? It is very cathartic. It allows me to express my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, and my beliefs. And that come through 46 years of living. And once I become a billionaire or whatever, that'll be 46 years worth of trials and tribulations in order to get it. It just didn't happen overnight. So I am very excited about the potential of what this show means to a lot of people who want to know, who want to grow, who want to understand not only the world around them, but of themselves as well. And I find myself encouraged in doing this because it allows me to be me. It allows me to expose to the world my beliefs that are tangent to the belief of our ancestors and what they taught in terms of morality. But there's a deeper sense as well that touches the very core, the very common core of humanity. And that's kindness, you guys. That's character. That's integrity. That's frugality. That's responsibility. And I try to use all of those virtues all the time. And I don't think people who know me personally will ever say, well, Isaiah's bullshitting you. He's a narcissistic person. He's no good. They'll tell you, I have my days. I can act like a true asshole when it kicks in, but I have to correct myself. And that means I'm not perfect. That means I am human. That means I am not the God of gods. But I conceive myself and I consider myself to be godly, and that it is a constant work ethic to exude what God is: knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, followed by kindness, which is the number one thing that I always try to show and be cognitive of, and being a man, being a father, being a husband of character and integrity. So, when a person sees me out of norm, they're going to say, well, he's just having a bad day. 90% of the time, he's good. And, everybody has a bad day. I'm not going to say, that I don't, that everything is peachy king and roses every fucking day. I don't. There's some things that really tick me off. And we're going to get into that on Monday. No, on Tuesday, because that's Monday Inspiration Day. But, I might kind of talk about it today, but I just don't really know because we're kind of running up on the 36-minute mark. And I did start kind of late today because, there was some connection problem. But I really have an offense to people who hurt children, man. That really tugs at my heart. And I just cannot see how you can harm a newborn child, a child that's not even born yet with all these abortions going on, and a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old. It's just some wild and crazy people out here who lack empathy for little kids, man. I try to wrap my mind around it, but I just can't. I try to step in their shoes, and you hear about, them, killing a little kid because they were crying. All kids cry, you big dummy. Or all kids, shit on themselves and, all this stuff. You shitted on yourself. And somebody cleaned it up, and I'm quite sure they didn't want to do it. But, all of these other crazy, lame excuses, it's just lame. And just take your ass to jail. You know what I mean? So, I really uh, am moved when I see other people become successful or become more introvert first and then extrovert later. Because that's another thing, too. You got to know yourself. Socrates said it best: know thyself, and to thyself be true. Because how can you be true to other people and you're not true to yourself? Really simple. Because when your cup runneth over, you can really share. But if your cup is lacking, you're not going to want to share. That's with money, with wisdom, with knowledge, with understanding, whatever. And your time, and you feel like, oh man, I don't want to waste my time doing that or doing this or going here, going there. And, but if you are truly empathetic, and you don't mind spending a lot of time with people especially kids, who need, attention from an adult that is sincere. And so at this age of almost 50, and I'm 4 years short of that, I find myself to be more reflective right now, you know what I mean? Not to say that I wasn't before, but through my own reflection and my own life and how great my parents were and how great my family was. Were they perfect? No. They only knew what they knew, and that's it. So I got to take the best of what they have to offer, strain it through the strainer, and take what is useful and use that to improve myself and to make my foundation of life firmer and more concrete and discard the other bullshit, whether it's negative, whether it's comments, or whatever the case may be. And that is true for each and every one of us, that we must persevere and that we must leave a legacy behind that says we can do it, you can do it, because I did it. And if I can do it, so can you. But will, that's the operative word, will you do it? Do you have the faith that becomes the will to overcome any and other negative aspects that you might run up on? You know what I mean? Because honestly, I was watching, my wife watching this preacher on YouTube. This guy had no arms and no legs. He has a beautiful wife and beautiful family, but he never took that disability, I guess, which is becoming an ability with him. Because you see a lot of people with two arms and two legs and not doing what he's doing. He did not internalize the pain. And I think he was born that way, to be honest with you. So did he curse his family to give birth to him without any arms, without any legs? No. He looked at the brighter side of all of that. And I wish I had a thought about that. I'm thinking about it now. But a night guy. But then again, I don't want to I don't want to get a YouTube strike for copyright infringement. So, but that's cool. Um, but the guy is just amazing. He's making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, selling his books and being an inspiration for people, man. So I salute the guy, and there's a lot of women and guys and other guys like that too, that have one arm, one leg, two legs, one arm, whatever the case may be, one eye, hell, one brain, or half a brain, and they're becoming successful because they are exuding the very quality of life, the quality of God, being introspective first, cleaning up, and becoming an extrovert in the more positive of way, not the negative of ways, and becoming a light for other people to follow. So, you know what? I didn't do that. I didn't do the intro. So we're gonna do the intro, and let's get at it before we wrap it up. Okay, we got about 15 minutes, so let's hit it. All right, well that covers that, but I'm not gonna do that no more or anymore. I want to make sure I play I play my intro at the beginning. But hey, better late than never, right? But yeah, this show is really, I'm really feeling, this show and to be able to share with you guys, the things that strikes me the most, that hit me at my soul, hit me at my center, whether it's negative or positive, and really be able to talk about it and really be able to share with you my thoughts on it because we have to be conscious, you guys, that there's a constant battle not only outside of us that is happening with other people and other nations that lead to war, and greed is one of the many factors or the seven deadly sins that feed into all of that. But there's a constant battle within you, within me, of two wolves, the wolf of virtue and the wolf of the seven deadly sins. And which wolf wins? And that's the wolf you feed. And you got to be conscious and you got to be aware every single second of every minute of every hour, every day, week, month, year, and decades to come of that battle that is happening within each in every one of us. So it's about it. That must be one, and you must teach this to your children. And to be honest, I'm doing all of these videos for my kids, so they can always revert back to it and really learn from really learn from me, their father. So hopefully, there won't be a knucklehead in the family, and they can really get a sense of the old man and what is happening within my brain, and to be able to share this with them as a legacy of videos to leave behind, because it is so true that we have to really open up. And if you start out with life with a closed fist, you live your life that you're gonna die with a closed fist. You're gonna start out with what you started with and end what you started with. But if you open up your hand, all of God's glory and blessings come right on it. It might go right on out, but at least you can work it like a sieve and keep all the goodies that you want to keep and let the other ones flow. Because it's got to be like water. Because stagnant water goes stale. But if it keeps flowing, you don't never have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Because you'll always be fresh and clean. But yeah, so we're coming up on about 46 minutes right now. We got about another, I'm going to make it around about another 10 minutes or so. But I think I have touched on all of the things I wanted to. But as you can see, this is my book, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, by yours truly, your host, Isaiah Israel. And it deals with why white people hate black people so much. And I talked about this a lot in the book. And like I said, person A or white people don't wake up hating black people for nothing. It is what black people did to so-called white people back in the day. And I'm not going to rehash that each and every time. But you can look at the other video that I have and buy the book. It's an ebook series on Amazon for about $18. And I would recommend that you buy the ebook because it is chock filled with links that you can click and you can verify the information. And I'm not in the convincing business, so you have to prove things to yourself. But I am true to speaking truth to power. Now this is the other book that I wrote. This is book two, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, Understanding White Supremacy. And like I said before, many times before, white supremacy is an liberation ideology from under the oppression of black people. And this is what happened. Believe it or not, know it or not, and accept it or not. Because truth is truth even if no one believes it, and a lie is a lie even if everyone believes it. It doesn't matter. So I'm always making sure that I'm standing on what is right and true. So with that, we're coming up on the 50-minute mark, and I think I did a pretty decent job today about that particular article, narcissism versus empathetic person, and my take or my feel or my analysis of that on Facebook. I think really hit the mark. So if I'm a little bit off, then please excuse that. But I just want you guys to know that this show is not just about me; it's about you. And if you want to be on the show, then please let me know in the comments and or to write me at my email address iisrael93132 at gmail.com, or you can call my WhatsApp number 1-829-990-8267, and any other pertinent information. If you want to, purchase our T-shirts and mugs and hats, you can do so under the description, and just go to our store, online store. And also, if you like what you hear and if you wanna support the show, you can do so on Patreon as well as PayPal. So there's a lot of ways in which you can support the show. And I really want to thank those who are watching the show, that you are truly appreciated, and make sure that you are a subscriber and hit the bell, and making sure that you're aware of any other shows that are streaming live, because we're going to get that straight too. And we're going to make the show better, and eventually have the ability, for co-host to show up on the screen as well, and to do interviews. So I'm really looking forward to the future of this podcast and what it means and what we can do. Because the future is bright, and it's always bright, you guys. Never give up, never give in, and never give out on your dreams and whatever they may be, right? So also check out our blog at www.thewhitemansburden.blog. There's a lot of interesting articles and things that I put on there on a daily, and I think there's like over 2,300 things that are there. And with that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow night, as you know, is Freak Out Friday, where we just don't give a damn what we say and do, and we just laugh and have a good time, and about crazy people doing crazy things, right? So make sure you check out our videos on our YouTube channel, WMB of Lies and Deceit, and we will see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Peace, good things, and stay black. Okay, well, there's a little bit of a buffering situation. I'm going to play that again, so please excuse it. All right, we out of here, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And don't forget, it is Freak Out Friday, where we just laugh it up and chop it up, and just really talk about some real dumb people. Cause goddamn well, there are some really dumbass people in this world doing some dumbass shit. So that's what that show is about. Because throughout the week, we have Inspiration Mondays, where we focus in on people overcoming fantastic odds to succeed. And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're dealing with political, economic, social, and spiritual issues, as we have done tonight. And Freak Out Friday, where you just gotta laugh and just take one day to yourself and just really have a nice time, really have a good time, and just laugh. Because there's just some dumbass people in this world that need to be laughed at, if not laughing with them. So, peace and good things, and we'll see you tomorrow night.